The shuttle screamed through alien atmosphere, systems failing one by one. Commander Will Watson fought the controls as ice particles hammered the hull, but he knew this was gonna hurt. The impact knocked consciousness from him. When he woke, hanging upside down in his restraints, blood trickling into his eye, his first thought was remarkably calm. Well, shit. The emergency beacon was dead, main power offline. He was stranded on an uncharted ice world, alone, with a storm building outside that would kill him in hours. Will suited up in his powered armor and stepped into a frozen hell. Wind cut through his blonde hair like razors, temperature -40 and dropping. The tactical display showed a cave formation 2 clicks north, his only hope. He made it half a kilometer before he realized he wasn't alone. She materialized from the snow like a desert sunset, 8 feet of lethal grace wrapped in minimal armor that left little to imagination. Orange skin glowed against the white landscape. Copper hair flowed despite the wind. And those eyes, golden, feline, ancient, fixed on him with predatory interest. The weapon in her hands could vaporize him. Will kept his rifle lowered, his smile easy. Well, hello there. You are either brave or foolish, human. Her voice was silk over steel, perfectly translated by his suit. You have entered sovereign territory of the Solarian Empire. Just lost, actually. Commander Will Watson, at your service. He let his eyes travel up her impressive height. And you are Queen Aurelia. A slight pause. And you are now my prisoner. Your Majesty. Will's grin widened. I usually prefer dinner first. Something flickered across her face. Amusement? Fascination? Typical human bravado. Not bravado, good manners. He gestured at the worsening storm. Speaking of which, this weather's getting deadly. Maybe we could continue this standoff somewhere warmer. Her weapon didn't lower, but her golden eyes studied him with new intensity. You dare proposition me? Wouldn't dream of it. Just suggesting we both might prefer not freezing to death. A fierce wind gust made even her shiver. Your suggestion has merit. My outpost is near. You will accompany me. Lead the way, though I should warn you, I'm terrible at following orders. They trudged through deepening snow, and Will noticed how she moved, predatory, powerful, completely confident. His suit indicated she was generating enormous body heat, far beyond human norms. You are not what I expected from reports of human males, she said after several minutes. Oh, what did you expect? Smaller, weaker, primitive. A sidelong glance. The data suggested your species would be barely worth conquering. Will laughed. Sounds like you need better intelligence. Humanity's full of surprises. So I'm beginning to see. The outpost appeared as a rock face, opening at her touch. Though I find it hard to believe your kind could ever challenge the Solarian Empire. The very idea of breeding with a human is laughable. The mountain exploded. Will didn't think, just tackled her through the entrance as tons of ice and rock collapsed behind them, sealing them inside. They landed in a tangle of limbs, his armored form pressed against her taller frame. For a heartbeat, they just stared at each other in emergency lighting. Well, Will said, still not moving, looks like we'll have plenty of time to discuss interspecies relations. The outpost thrummed with dying power. Aurelia paced the command center, her height forcing her to duck under low supports. Will leaned against a console, deliberately casual, watching the way emergency lights painted her skin in shades of amber. Communications are damaged, she announced. We're sealed in. Could be worse. He gestured at readouts. Life support stable, power for weeks, and the company's exceptional. She turned, golden eyes gleaming. You seem unconcerned for someone trapped with a potentially hostile alien queen. Potentially hostile? That's an improvement, he grinned. I've been in worse situations, though usually with less interesting company. That sound again. Not quite a laugh, but close. You humans and your persistent charm. Is it working? Don't be absurd. But her tone suggested otherwise. She moved closer, towering over him. Most species cower before the Solarian Empire. Will straightened, closing distance between them. Maybe they never took time to know you. And you wish to know me? Her voice dropped dangerously low. We're stuck here together. Might as well make the best of it. He gestured at his armor. This suit's got fascinating scanning capabilities. Want to know what it tells me about Solarian physiology? Her eyes narrowed. You dare scan me? Standard protocol. For instance, I know your core temperature runs 15 degrees hotter than mine. Your heartbeat's fascinating, and your pheromone levels spike every time you get close to me. Aurelia's orange skin flushed deeper. Presumptuous for a prisoner. Am I still a prisoner? Seems more like reluctant roommates. She closed the final distance until looking down at him from inches away. Perhaps I should remind you of your position. My position's pretty good from where I'm standing. His eyes met hers without flinching. Though I'm open to suggestions. A low growl escaped her throat, not entirely threatening. Dangerous game, human. Will, and I'm not playing. The air between them crackled with tension. Her hand moved to his face, fingers surprisingly gentle as they traced the cut above his eye. Your species is so fragile, so brief-lived compared to mine, yet you show no fear. Should I be afraid? Yes, but she didn't move away. This is madness, the very idea of interaction between our species. Will reached up, his armored hand carefully brushing copper hair from her face. Sometimes madness makes perfect sense. The kiss was like touching live current. Her skin burned against his, alien yet impossibly right. Time fractured as they explored new territory, breaking barriers that should have been insurmountable. Later, much later, they lay together in the rest chamber, bodies cooling in artificial atmosphere. Will traced patterns on her orange skin, marveling at how it shimmered under his touch. Still think breeding with a human is laughable? Aurelia propped herself up on an elbow, looking down with an expression mixing amusement and something deeper. You may have altered my perspective. Happy to expand your horizons. She rolled her eyes, surprisingly human gesture. Your ego is remarkable. Part of my charm. This changes nothing, but her tone lacked conviction. When we're rescued, this remains secret. Of course, he grinned, though perhaps we should conduct further cultural exchange while we wait. For science? For science. She grew serious. There are things you should understand about my species, about our compatibility. A deep rumble shook the outpost. Warning lights flashed as systems reported cascading failures. Time to go, Will announced, reaching for his armor. The maintenance shaft was a tight squeeze, particularly for Aurelia's frame. Will led upward through the mountain's interior, his lights cutting through darkness. You've been quiet, he called back. Focus on climbing, but her voice sounded distracted. They emerged into a blizzard. Aurelia immediately began shivering violently. This isn't right, she muttered, wrapping arms around herself. Solarians don't feel cold like this. Will's suit screamed warnings. Her core temperature was fluctuating wildly. He spotted a cave and guided her inside, noting how she leaned into his support despite their height difference. Will? Her voice held uncertainty. Something is happening to me. He turned to find her examining her own hand with fascination. Her orange skin pulsed with inner light, and his sensors were going haywire. Talk to me. What are you feeling? Everything is more. Colors are brighter.
Sensations are stronger. She looked at him, golden eyes now literally glowing. And there's something else, something growing. His suit beeped urgently. The biological scan results made his breath catch. Aurelia, according to these readings, you're pregnant. With a hybrid child, she finished, wonder and disbelief mixing in her voice. Impossible. Our species shouldn't be compatible. Clearly someone forgot to tell our DNA that. A laugh bubbled from her throat, genuine, uncontrolled. I'm carrying what could be the first human Solarian child in history. My council will have collective apoplexy. The genetic purists will demand my abdication. She pulled him closer, free hand tracing his armor's contours. And yet, I find myself fascinated by the possibilities. You're not angry? Angry? She smiled, showing slightly pointed teeth. My people have spent centuries believing we were superior to all species. In one night, you've proven humans are not only our equals, but potentially compatible mates. Do you know what this means? That I'm about to become the most wanted man in the Solarian Empire? That, and so much more. Her expression turned predatory. It means evolution, change, a future neither of our species imagined. The cave suddenly felt much warmer. Distant explosions interrupted what promised to be interesting scientific inquiry. Will's tactical display lit up with multiple contacts approaching. We've got company, at least 3 ships. Aurelia's expression hardened into regal mask. The council, they must have detected the outpost collapse. She straightened to full height. They cannot find us together, not yet. Not until we understand what this means. I'm not leaving you. You must, she cupped his face in her hands. My people won't harm their queen, but they would kill you on sight. I need time to prepare them for everything. Another explosion, closer. Searchlights cut through the storm. There's a human settlement 2 days south, she continued quickly. Find your people. I will contact you when it's safe. How? She pressed something into his hand, a small crystal pulsing with the same inner light as her skin. This will lead you back to me. Now go. Will hesitated, then pulled her down into a fierce kiss. This isn't goodbye. No, she agreed, pushing him toward the cave's rear exit. It's just the beginning. 2 days of wilderness had done nothing to dampen Will's spirits. The crystal pulsed warmly against his chest, and his suit's biomonitors continued reporting Aurelia's vital signs, both hers and their improbable child's. He crested a ridge and spotted the human settlement, New Darwin. The collection of prefab buildings looked like every frontier colony he'd seen, except for one detail. They were preparing for war. Commander Watson, Colonel Sarah Hayes's weathered face broke into a rare smile. You're supposed to be dead. Good to see you too. Want to tell me what's got everyone so trigger happy? Inside the command center, Hayes pulled up classified footage. The Solarian Empire is in chaos. Their queen disappeared 3 days ago, right when you crashed. Their military's mobilizing, and intel suggests a coup is brewing. Will kept his face carefully neutral. Any idea what happened to the queen? That's where it gets interesting. Hayes played a recording of Solarian transmissions. According to their chatter, she's pregnant. The genetic purists are calling it an abomination, but a growing faction of their military supports her. They're calling it the next step in evolution. You don't say. The real problem is this bastard. The display showed a towering Solarian male in ornate armor. High Commander Pyrax. He's convinced the queen was corrupted by human spies. Claims the pregnancy is proof of our biological warfare. He's using it to justify a preemptive strike. Before Will could respond, alarms blared throughout the base. Multiple ships entering orbit, a junior officer announced. It's Solarian Royal Guard. Hayes grabbed her command helmet. Battle stations. Wait, Will held up his hands. Let me talk to them first. The command center's main display crackled to life,
revealing Aurelia in full royal regalia. Her orange skin seemed to glow with inner fire, and her presence commanded attention even through the screen. "People of New Darwin," she announced, "I am Queen Aurelia of the Solarian Empire. I come seeking asylum." The room erupted in chaos. Will simply smiled, feeling the crystal pulse in time with his heartbeat. Aurelia's eyes found him in the crowd. "Commander Watson, I believe we have some matters to discuss." "Your Majesty," he stepped forward, ignoring Hayes's protest. "I trust you're feeling well?" "Better by the day." Her smile held promises that made several officers blush. "Though I find myself missing our scientific discussions." Before anyone could react, proximity alarms screamed. New contacts appeared in orbit, Solarian warships bearing Pyrax's colors. "My dear Queen," a new voice boomed across all frequencies. High Commander Pyrax's hologram materialized beside Aurelia's. "How convenient to find you with the very humans who corrupted you." "The only corruption here is your outdated thinking, Pyrax. Stand down." "I think not." His smile was predatory. "The Council has spoken. You will be cleansed, the abomination removed, and the human vermin exterminated." Will stepped closer to the display. "Hey, tall, dark, and fascist, that's my abomination you're talking about." Dead silence fell across all channels. Hayes buried her face in her hands. Pyrax looked like he'd been slapped with a fish. Aurelia's laughter, rich and genuine, broke the tension. "Well, my love, I suppose that's one way to announce it." "You," Pyrax's face contorted with rage, "you dare to claim—" "Oh, I dare a lot of things." Will's grin was sharp enough to cut, "including knocking up your queen. Turns out humans and Solarians aren't so different after all." "This is impossible." "Clearly not." Aurelia's hand rested on her midsection. "Our child represents everything you fear, Pyrax. Change, evolution, the end of your precious genetic purity. And do you know what else?" Her golden eyes blazed. "Half the fleet supports me. How many ships do you command again?" As if on cue, new signatures appeared on tactical displays. Solarian warships dropping out of hyperspace, bearing the Queen's colors. "Last chance, Pyrex," Will called out. "Stand down or find out exactly why humans have a reputation for being troublesome." The standoff lasted 3 heartbeats before Pyrex's ships began powering up weapons. "So be it," Aurelia sighed. "Commander Watson, would you care to help me deal with this rebellion?" Will cracked his knuckles. "Thought you'd never ask, Your Majesty." The battle above New Darwin unfolded like deadly ballet. Pyrax's forces fought with desperate fury, but they hadn't counted on one crucial factor: human ingenuity combined with Solarian might. Will stood on the bridge of Aurelia's flagship, the Imperial Dawn, coordinating both fleets. His combat suit interfaced seamlessly with Solarian systems, thanks to creative programming and what he suspected was his newfound biological connection to their queen. "Your tactics are unconventional," Aurelia observed from her command throne, watching him direct ships in patterns that made her tactician's head spin. "Humans excel at thinking outside the box." His fingers danced across holographic controls. "Speaking of which, incoming." The Imperial Dawn shuddered as Pyrax's flagship launched plasma torpedoes. Before Solarian gunners could react, Will had already calculated an intercept solution that turned the enemy's own weapons against them. "Impressive," Aurelia purred. Then suddenly gasped, one hand pressing against her midsection. Will was at her side instantly, suit sensor scanning. "What's wrong?" "The child." Her golden eyes widened with wonder. "It's growing far faster than normal. The combination of our genetics seems to have triggered accelerated development. A medical officer rushed forward, but Aurelia waved him away. I'm fine. The sensation is intense but not uncomfortable. She caught Will's worried look and smiled. Your offspring is as impatient as you are, my love. My queen, her chief advisor interrupted. We're receiving transmissions from every major system in the Empire. News of your condition has spread. Good. Aurelia stood, her impressive height somehow even more commanding despite her visible pregnancy. Open a channel to all frequencies, both human and Solarian. The bridge crew scrambled to comply. Will moved to stand beside her, noting how she leaned against him for support. People of the Solarian Empire, she began, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of authority, and honored representatives of humanity. You see before you what some call impossible, the union of our species. Not through warfare or diplomacy, but through love. Propaganda, Pyrax's voice cut across channels. The humans have corrupted. Oh, shut up, Will interrupted. You're just jealous you didn't think of it first. Scattered laughter echoed across both fleets, breaking the tension. Even some of Pyrax's own ships seemed to waver in their formation. The old ways are changing, Aurelia continued. Evolution demands it. My child, our child, represents not the end of Solarian purity, but the beginning of something greater, a bridge between our peoples. She paused, grimacing slightly. Will's suit registered another spike in her biological readings. The pregnancy is progressing rapidly, the medical officer whispered. Hours instead of months. Then we'd better wrap this up quick, Will muttered, then addressed the fleet. Listen up. Your queen is about to give birth to the first human-Solarian hybrid in history. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me personally. And fair warning, I've got a pretty impressive track record with impossible situations. The crystal against his chest pulsed warmly, and he felt Aurelia's amusement through their link. Always so dramatic, she teased, then doubled over as another contraction hid. My queen! Several officers moved to help, but Will was faster, scooping her up despite their height difference. Medical bay, he ordered. Now! The battle, she protested. Can wait. He looked at her chief advisor. You have command. Don't let Pyrax escape, but try not to kill him. He might make a useful example later. The advisor bowed deeply. As you command, my lord. Will grinned as he carried Aurelia from the bridge. We'll figure out titles later. Right now, I've got a date with Destiny in the delivery room. You're enjoying this far too much, Aurelia grumbled against his neck. Says the woman who laughed at the idea of breeding with a human male. I'm not laughing now. No, he agreed, feeling the crystal pulse in time with both their heartbeats. And something else, something new. But I bet our kid will have a hell of a sense of humor. Behind them, the battle continued to unfold. But within the Imperial Dawn's medical bay, a different kind of history was about to be made. One that would change both species forever. The medical bay's walls thrummed with energy as Aurelia's labor progressed at its supernatural pace. Will hadn't left her side, his suit's sensors providing real-time data to the mixed team of human and Solarian doctors watching in fascination. My queen! An aide burst through the doors. High Commander Pyrax has broken through the defensive line. He's boarding the ship. Will's tactical display lit up with multiple hostile signatures moving through the Imperial Dawn. Of course he is, Will muttered, because this day wasn't exciting enough. Aurelia grabbed his arm with strength that would have crushed unarmored bones. Go, stop him, protect our child. I'm not leaving you. You're not. She pressed the pulsing crystal into his hand. We're connected now, remember? Besides, her golden eyes flickered with amusement despite her discomfort. I'd rather like to see you put that human ingenuity to work against that pompous ass. The ship shuddered from internal explosions. Will's display showed Pyrax's forces converging on their position. "Doctor," he addressed the chief medical officer, "how long?" "Minutes at most. The energy readings are off the charts." Will kissed Aurelia deeply, then stood. "Hold that thought, Your Majesty. I've got a quick errand." "Try not to damage my ship too badly."
No promises. The corridor outside medical was already a battlefield. Will sealed the doors behind him and activated his suit's full combat protocols. The crystal hummed against his chest, somehow amplifying his neural connection to the armor. "Attention all hands," he broadcast shipwide. "This is Commander Watson. We've got party crashers trying to ruin a very special delivery. Let's show them some human hospitality." The response was immediate. Both human and Solarian crew members rallied, coordinating their efforts through his tactical network. Pyrax's forces found themselves facing an unprecedented combination of human guerrilla tactics and Solarian martial prowess. "Impressive," Pyrax's voice boomed through the ship, "but futile. The abomination must not be born." "You know," Will replied while setting up improvised explosive charges, "for someone so obsessed with genetic purity, you sure talk a lot about my kid. Feeling inadequate?" The taunt had its intended effect. Pyrax's troops broke formation, charging forward recklessly, straight into Will's trap. The explosions weren't meant to kill, just to drive them exactly where he wanted them. Through it all, the crystal pulsed stronger. Will felt Aurelia's presence in his mind, growing more intense. Something was building, like static before lightning. "My lord," a Solarian officer called out, and wasn't that still weird to hear? "High Commander Pyrax is approaching the medical bay from the secondary access shaft." "Perfect," Will grinned. "That's exactly where I want him." He reached the medical bay's rear entrance just as Pyrax burst through, massive in his ceremonial battle armor. "Stand aside, human," Pyrax growled. "This is beyond you." "Actually," Will drawled, "I think this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Want to know why?" "Your primitive attempts." "Because," Will continued, noting how the crystal's pulse had synchronized with the ship's power fluctuations, "my kid's about to make one hell of an entrance." The medical bay doors burst open in a flash of blinding light. Energy cascaded through the corridor like liquid starfire, and in its wake, reality seemed to bend. Will felt it first through his link with Aurelia, a new consciousness, powerful and pristine, combining the best of both species. The crystal shattered, its energy merging with the phenomenon. When the light faded, Pyrax stood frozen, his armor systems completely dead. Behind Will, cradled in Aurelia's arms, their child glowed with an inner light that put the stars to shame. "Well," Will said into the stunned silence, "she's definitely got my hair." The baby, a perfect blend of human and Solarian features, opened eyes that shifted between deep blue and molten gold. Every electronic device in the ship responded to its mere presence, systems upgrading and evolving in real time. "Impossible," Pyrax whispered. "You keep using that word," Aurelia said, her voice tired but triumphant. "I don't think it means what you think it means." The ship's communications suddenly activated, broadcasting across all frequencies without any input from the crew. Images of the child appeared on every screen, its hybrid nature impossible to deny or ignore. The next step, Will realized, not just for our species, but for everything. Aurelia nodded. "Evolution demands change, Pyrax. You can either adapt or become extinct." The fallen commander looked between the child, its parents, and his own powerless armor. Finally, he dropped to one knee. "My queen," he said, voice rough with emotion. I was wrong." "Yes," she agreed, "you were. But perhaps that's the point. We were all wrong, thinking our species had reached their peak separately. It took human audacity and Solarian pride to show us a better way. Will moved to her side, marveling at their daughter's perfect features. So, about those titles we were discussing earlier. Don't push your luck, Commander. Yes, Your Majesty, he grinned, though I think we're a bit beyond formal titles now. The baby made a sound that might have been a laugh, and every light in the ship pulsed in response. You know, Will added, we still need to name the little reality warper. Aurelia's expression softened as she looked at their child. In Solarian tradition, children of greatness are named for the moment of their birth. Yeah? And what would you call this moment? She smiled. The beginning. 3 months later, Will adjusted his formal diplomatic attire in the mirror of their private chambers aboard the Imperial Dawn. The suit, specially designed to complement Solarian aesthetics while maintaining human military dignity, still felt strange compared to his combat armor. Having trouble with the ceremonial collar, my love? Aurelia's amused voice came from behind him. She stood in the doorway, resplendent in her royal regalia, their child cradled in one arm. You try fastening these clasps when they're designed for 8-foot-tall aliens, he grumbled good-naturedly. She glided forward, expertly adjusting his collar with her free hand. Such complaints from the man who had no trouble figuring out other aspects of Solarian anatomy. That was different, he grinned up at her. I was highly motivated. Their child, officially named Aurora Dawn, but nicknamed Rory by the human crew, giggled, and every electronic device in the room flickered in response. At 3 months old, she already showed the best traits of both species. Aurelia's striking orange skin and flowing hair, combined with Will's blue eyes and determined chin. The diplomatic summit starts in an hour, Aurelia reminded him. Are you ready to scandalize the conservative factions again? Me? You're the one who told the Solarian High Council that human males are surprisingly adaptable while looking directly at your former suitors. She laughed, the sound still sending shivers down his spine. I was merely stating facts. Besides, the number of human Solarian coupling requests has tripled since then. Yeah, about that. Will took Rory from her arms, marveling at how their daughter immediately began interfacing with his suit systems. Did you really have to tell the entire Imperial Court about my impressive stamina? Would you prefer I lied? She bent down to kiss him, making the height difference particularly obvious. Besides, it's important for our people to understand the benefits of genetic diversity. The diplomatic aide's voice came through the intercom, carefully avoiding interrupting in person. They'd learned that lesson after walking in on one too many diplomatic discussions between the royal couple. My queen, my lord, the delegates are arriving. Time to face the music, Will said, handing Rory back to Aurelia. Ready to show the galaxy what the future looks like? With you, she smiled, always. The Grand Diplomatic Chamber of the Imperial Dawn had been modified to accommodate both human and Solarian delegations. The sight of the mixed crew working seamlessly together still drew amazed stares from newcomers. As they entered, Will noticed several things at once. The appreciative glances from both human and Solarian women, the barely concealed envy from various male dignitaries, and the way Pyrax, now their strongest supporter, stood proudly at attention. Representatives of Earth and the Solarian Empire, Aurelia's voice carried effortlessly through the chamber. We gather today to formalize the alliance between our peoples, an alliance built on more than just politics. Indeed, Will added with a smirk that made several Solarian elders shift uncomfortably. As I'm sure many of you have heard, the compatibility between our species has proven remarkable. A ripple of charged murmurs went through the crowd. In the 3 months since Rory's birth, dozens of human-Solarian relationships had blossomed, each producing uniquely gifted offspring. The conservative factions couldn't deny the benefits. Enhanced technological interface abilities, accelerated development, and unprecedented genetic stability. The old jokes about human males being too small are officially retired.
one particularly bold Solarian noble announced, drawing knowing laughs from the crowd. Will raised an eyebrow at Aurelia. Should I be concerned about how many of your people can personally verify that? Jealous, my love? Of them, never. His grin turned wicked. They're not the ones who made the queen of the Solarian Empire scream my name in 3 different languages. The chamber erupted in gasps, laughs, and more than a few interested murmurs. Rory chose that moment to demonstrate her powers by creating a holographic display of her parents' first meeting, thankfully editing out the more private moments. As you can see, Aurelia recovered smoothly. Our daughter has her father's talent for dramatic timing. The diplomatic discussions that followed were unlike any in galactic history. Traditional boundaries of propriety were repeatedly shattered as both species embraced their new reality. The sight of their hybrid child casually manipulating advanced technology while alternating between human babbles and Solarian war chants became a powerful symbol of their unified future. You know, Will whispered to Aurelia during a brief recess, when I crashed on your planet, I didn't expect to end up changing the course of 2 civilizations. No? She traced a finger down his chest, making his formal attire suddenly feel too warm. Honestly, I was just hoping to survive the winter. And instead, you survived me. Her smile turned predatory. Though the night is still young, my bold human. Pyrax chose that moment to approach with several urgent documents requiring their attention. He stopped short at their intimate pose. My queen, my lord, perhaps I should return later. Nonsense. Aurelia straightened to her full height, though her hand remained possessively on Will's shoulder. We were just discussing human-Solarian relations. Very thoroughly, Will added helpfully. Pyrax's expression suggested he deeply regretted his past opposition to their union, if only because he now had to regularly witness their shameless flirtation. The Genetic Council has submitted their latest findings, he reported, steadfastly professional. It seems the success rate of human-Solarian pairings increases with emotional compatibility. Is that the scientific term for it? Will asked innocently. I believe the human phrase is sexual chemistry, Aurelia supplied, making Pyrax visibly struggle to maintain his composure. Rory burbled happily in her mother's arms, creating a small light show that drew everyone's attention. The child's powers grew daily, along with her personality, a perfect blend of human adaptability and Solarian pride. To think, Aurelia mused, all of this because you crashed on my planet. Best crash landing ever. Will wrapped an arm around her waist, or as high as he could reach. Though I still say you were checking me out before you decided to take me prisoner. I was assessing a potential threat. Is that what they're calling it now? Their playful banter was interrupted by the arrival of more diplomats, eager to discuss the possibility of expanding human-Solarian relations to their own systems. The future stretched before them, bright with possibility, and filled with the kind of chemistry that had already changed the galaxy once. And in the midst of it all, their daughter continued to grow, a living testament to what could happen when someone dared to laugh at impossible things.